Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? This is the High and Live podcast number
Four,
right?
This is four, yeah.
I just want to welcome everybody of all ages, all
Ethnicities,
yeah,
all
locations,
religions,
all religions,
locations.
Yeah.
Actually, locations is a good one, you know.
because we are connected through the power of the
I don't
internet,
know. I don't know where you're going with this.
interwebs.
the internet. We just want to thank everyone who is helping us behind the scenes here. We got Ben running the show. We got Arjun on the second camera. We got Jorge up in here. We got Brad, and we also got Andrew. He made us some dinner. What do we have? Buckwheat?
We had buckwheat and
Beef stroganoff.
and it was delicious.
Delicious.
I think we can all agree on that.
You still
Yeah.
feeling gassy, Parker?
No, I just burped and said it, so that's all it was. I'm not gassy yet. I probably will be later.
Better out the front than the back, as they say.
That's nuts. Sure.
That's what they say.
As you know, you can follow us on all our platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can leave comments, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. Parker is actually the comment guy. He usually gets to them as soon as he can. We also got Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter that you can follow us on. And you can also follow us on Anchor and Spotify. And you can also leave us a voice message on Anchor. Yeah.
Cool. I haven't even checked out Anchor yet.
I don't think we have a message yet, so we're still waiting for that lucky person.
You can be the first Anchor message for us, but you have to act fast.
Yeah.
Go.
Do it now. Do we have a sponsor yet?
No, I don't know.
Hold up your cup. Hold up your cup. We're going to
We are sponsored by Dixie, bringing you nice plastic cups with a solid red shade for decades.
Potential sponsors, look at that. You could be on there, on that. Or you could be on this screen. Or you could be on our shirts. Or we could be wearing your underwear. Anyway, we're just going to move forward here, and we are going to recap just one of the videos that we put out recently, the importance of taking time to yourself. We put it out last Sunday. And, yeah, Parker, you wrote this video, and you wrote the dialogue behind it. I know what inspired you to write it.
Okay, well, obviously we've had a few hundred meetings talking about what kind of direction we want to go in now and what our angle is moving forward with YouTube, with the company, the brand, everything. And like the past was a lot of us going around adventuring, doing flips off of stuff, topless, sunny places, beaches, whatever. Like that's kind of like what we were doing a lot. And we've done a good chunk of videos that were very inspirational, motivational in nature, and they do well. We like them, and we enjoy sharing a positive message to people. And we've gotten so much feedback from just all sorts of people that it's, made an impact on their lives or the way they see things or just some positive feedback in general. So we want to stick to that kind of a message. So we're leaning towards now going back to making inspirational, motivational themed messages. One that really kind of stood out for me right off the bat was, taking time to yourself and taking time to recharge and to just kind of like shut off for a little bit, put your phone down, just ignore social media for a little bit and just do you for a little bit. Reason being, we weren't posting very, very often for a couple of months there, and we, took a bit of downtime. So it correlates to ourselves and our brand and what we're doing because we needed the time to, step down for a little bit and deal with things that we needed to deal with. But I also think that resonates with a lot of other people as well, whether they realize it or not. I mean, I don't think we would have taken any time off of High on Life stuff if we didn't have a real good reason to like take a step back and really look at what we're doing and what's going on. So I thought that message might resonate with a lot of people, and it might kind of clue in for other people, okay, so this is sort of why they've been not posting so much in the last little bit. They need the time to, grieve, to get over things that have happened in the past and to just, start again and make changes that are necessary or whatever needs to be done. So that's sort of where that all came from. That's where I got the idea.
That's cool. And, I definitely resonate with what you're saying with our channel, transitioning into a new era, a new season, and we don't really know what we're going to be doing, but one of the big things that, you know, I think as a team we're all talking about, you know, the diversification of like the stuff we talk about, if that makes sense. And I think that video that you wrote is like a pretty good example. And I think it's, you know, a bold step forward into, you know, something unknown. What do you think you might write about in the next, you know, for other inspirational videos? Do you have any off the top of your head?
No, I don't have any off the top of my head because we've been over this before with Alexi and Riker, and I used to kind of go over different motivational pieces that we could talk about that would leave a good message that some people may really click with or connect with that idea. And we filmed a bunch, we made a bunch of videos for those. So I'd have to kind of look over everything that we've already done that's very inspirational and motivational, and then see what we haven't covered and come up with a list of ideas of things, you know, that we haven't already done a little video for, because we did do a bunch of topics until we sort of ran out of ideas the first, you know, time through. And then this one, I mean, Riker's got a video as well. I just watched it the other day on High on Life that is sort of along the same lines as this one, a little bit different. Plus, you know, we used footage from High on Life of our old travels and stuff, but it had a similar message to it. So, I mean, even this last video about taking time to yourself is not completely fresh for us. So I don't have any ideas off the top of my head. I would have to kind of sit down and see what we've already put out and see what we've talked about, because there's a lot of content that we've got out already that we have touched upon a lot of these subjects. So I'd have to do some research before. I don't have anything off the top of my head.
Well, speaking of taking time to yourself, what do you do to take time to yourself? Activity-wise or whatever.
Okay, well...
Or anything. Activity.
And yeah, anybody who's been following High on Life for a long time now would probably know that we thrive in nature. We really love to get into the outdoors, you know, hikes, mountains, rivers, ocean, beaches, anything outdoors, great. When we go to a new city, unless we have like a host or someone that we're there to show us around, we just sort of feel lost, and we'll just end up at the bar or something and not really doing anything productive. But if we're out in a park or out doing a hike or something, it just feels like there's endless options or abilities or things that you can do and have fun with, or film or create, and maybe that's the other thing, is that, you know, our minds are a little sharper when we're not just surrounded by traffic and white noise and distractions and people and whatever. So for me, taking time to myself means go out in nature and go have a swim in a river, go have a swim in the lake or something, go hiking.
I saw you post a video of yourself jumping into a lake on Instagram. Was that quite recent?
That is very recent. That's the ocean. I posted that this morning.
It looked really good. The man with the wings.
The man with wings.
And I'm going to get to you. Okay, before we ask him what he does for comfort and relaxation, this guy is Eric Elder. And he's been a friend of High on Life for the past...
Friend and a fan.
I don't know how long you've been a friend, because I'm sure you know Parker longer than I do, right?
Yes. Yeah, I don't... Maybe like 5 years? 5 years,
let's call it roughly 5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Before Croatia, so that all the LBW stuff.
Right.
I don't know who edited that. Russia, maybe?
Not me
Not
for
you.
sure. But I did edit the Nicaragua ones from like 3 years ago. Anyway, before we get to him and his story, what do you do for relaxation?
Well, I mean, like Parker, I like to get out in nature, and I find nothing more rejuvenating than jumping into a cold body of water, whether it's a river, a lake, or the ocean. But sometimes, you know, I can't travel that distance to do that every day, and so I like to start my days with meditation.
Right.
Something that I've been recently exploring, and when I first started, I really wasn't finding that it was having an effect on me. And so I got discouraged, but I've kind of pressed forward with it, and it's just now, 2 weeks in, where I've been doing it every day, where I'm starting to finally be able to turn off my brain, and I think that I'm seeing some
results.
Exactly.
How would you feel results from doing meditation? Would you know, Parker?
I actually want to ask you what the turning point is, because if I ever try to meditate, which I do once in a while, I can't shut my brain off very well. I really have a tough time with that. And I've got different techniques, count down backwards from 100, but like I'll get to 0 and I still have a song stuck in my head. Like I just can't shut my brain off very well.
Yeah.
So did you find that just keep going, keep trying, and eventually it starts to get easier? You start to feel it, or what's the deal there?
Yeah, I think that it's important to do it at the same time every day and get into a routine. And also, it's one of those, it's like anything else, practice makes perfect. If you do it regularly, like, you can learn how to do it. That's for sure. I think that there's certain people that adjust to it more easily, but
Sure.
I think that it's possible for everyone.
Yeah.
And there's so many different methods. I was talking to my buddy yesterday. His name's Jay. He lives in Toronto, but he was telling me that he's taking this meditation teaching course, and he said it's unbelievable the amount of different types of meditation there are. It would be like going to a sports course, knowing, having played baseball and having played soccer all your life, and then arriving and realizing that there's thousands of different types of sports when you thought you knew a lot about sports.
Right.
So there's so many different methods, and I think that you have to find the one that's right for you. So I would encourage you to just like keep exploring different methods.
On that note, I have recently found one that works for me. I don't always want to do it because, I need headphones and music and stuff. But for me, it's music that is, soothing in nature, yet not a song that I know. Not something I recognize, not something that I can sing along to, and not something that has a repetitive beat, because my head will keep playing it. So, if you put on any kind of like spiritual meditation music or something, or even like breath work type of music, or the first thing that I ever got to work for me was binaural beats. Yeah. I would start playing binaural beats, and it flows. There's nothing repetitive about it. It's just sort of, it's like breathing. It's just kind of up and down, and it moves around and stuff. And that was able to distract me from distractions.
Right.
That's sort of how it feels.
No, I know it's.
So if I ever want to really try to meditate or try to fall asleep and I can't, I have to put headphones in and I have to play some kind of a music that I don't know.
Right.
And not an exciting song, nothing like upbeat, because then my heart starts beating and I start to get into it. It has to be really chill and I can't know it.
Right.
So that's what works for me. But.
Right. And binaural beats are designed to allow your brain to calm. The way that they
so
reverberate.
you got one frequency in your left ear, you got another
Exactly.
frequency in your right ear, and the difference between those two frequencies creates this pitch that is supposed to ease you into whatever you're looking for,
Precisely.
whether it's REM sleep or alpha, beta, whatever.
Yeah.
I heard it's like tickling your brain kind of when you listen to it.
I wouldn't say that personally, but I'm sure it could be used as an example.
Little brain tickler.
Sure, the old brain tickler.
Anyway, moving on. I was just going to bring up some YouTube comments that we left a question on our page and asked some of our viewers what they did to find their center or relax. And here are some of the ones that I thought were interesting. One of them from Rated R: to clear my mind, going to Bali. Mm-hmm.
I could get down with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of so here's the beautiful thing about Bali. There are a lot of places like this too, but you go to Bali, you can choose to be absolutely surrounded by excitement and activity, or you can choose to drive not even 30 minutes and be in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, really, you have those options pretty much anywhere in Indonesia. Mostly, I've only really been to Bali, but I know that you want to get away from everything, you can do it. And if you want to be in the center of the most extreme, aggressive, exciting party, you can do that too. So, yeah, sure, Bali would totally work. That would be a great idea.
Well, I think we're going back in November. I think that's the plan.
Yeah, says who?
Mm-hmm. We got another one, just one last one here. Flotation tanks are a great way to clear the mind. Sensory deprivation is a fast track to the meditative state. Have you tried floating? This is from Robbie Ave.
I have tried floating.
And so have I. Yeah.
And what was the effect?
I usually go to it very unprepared. I usually go because I'm feeling extra tired, and I use it to kind of like get a quick jolt of energy. to when I'm done with it, because usually I go in for 90 minutes.
Right.
And then when I'm done, I felt like I had a pretty long nap.
How many times have you done it?
I've done floating probably 11 times now.
Wow.
Over the past 2 years.
Okay, so you're going in and you're sleeping.
Yeah, I'm not going in to meditate.
You're going in to have a nap.
Sometimes to nap, sometimes to meditate, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And what about you?
Like I said, I've only done it a couple times, and I found that the time passed so slowly for me.
Of course.
I was just like in there awake, wondering when it was going to end, kind of thing. I didn't have the effect that other people have spoken about, but I wish I did, because I've heard people like having vibrant images.
Like an out of body experience.
Out of body
almost.
experience, and like if I was having those, I'd be back in there right away.
How many times have you gone?
All the time, just twice.
Just twice. Well, I think it takes maybe a couple of more times to like, and some intention to kind of like get into that space of like, I'm going to meditate.
Maybe the ability to meditate when you want to would help, because I've done it once, and mine's sort of the same as you. I was in there, I was thinking about stuff the entire time. The water didn't entirely match my body temperature. I could, I don't know, it didn't put me in that Zen state that I hear about when people go and do it. So, I mean, if I could really clear my mind more efficiently, I'm sure it would have been great, but
I'll tell you, it's really tough, because you're going in there and you're going from a place of like, I have 2 messages every minute and traffic are all around me, going to a place of nothing for 90 minutes.
I think a big thing, just putting your phone away, just putting your phone down for a little bit is great. I mean, I play video games quite often and I love it. And I don't know, that honestly brings me joy. It brings me calmness. Sometimes it gets me fired up too, depending on what kind of boss battles I got. But I mean,
you're still playing Final Fantasy, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. He's been playing Final Fantasy since friggin' Bali. Here.
Next topic, please.
All right, moving on. We're just gonna talk about you, Eric, and talk with you.
Okay.
About your experiences in the travel world.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. What can you tell us about what you do, man?
So I work for a travel business called LBW Travel, Life Before Work Travel.
I've heard of this company.
We encourage youth to travel around the world. We travel to 14 different destinations. And essentially we organize worry-free travel experiences. We get a lot of first-time travelers, people introducing people to travel.
Yeah.
We go to these countries in advance. We find out the best things to do, the best places to stay, and we put it together into a travel experience for 18 to 30-year-olds, essentially, is our target demographic.
Cool. And have you been on a trip with him?
Yeah, we linked up with Eric. So where's headquarters was what, in Toronto? Edmonton. Okay, but Eric was representing Vancouver at the time, and that's how we linked up with him the first time. And our first trip with LBW is to Croatia, and it was exactly that. Everything was taken care of. We didn't have to think about anything. Our accommodations were taken care of every step of the way. They had little day tours of what we were going to do for each day and what the plan was. We actually did Ultra Music Festival for 2 nights when we first landed, and everything was already taken care of. You know, tickets are already purchased and in place. You just need to show up, and really made it super easy for anyone who is new to the travel game or young and unsure or shy or whatever it might be. I mean, we weren't going there as new travelers. We were going there sort of to help out with a few different things. I mean, you guys had a film team and stuff, but we were also there shooting content for you guys. And like we had been experienced travelers at the time, but we got to see what it was like for everybody else. And it was just it was a riot. I mean, if I was there and didn't have to take pictures and videos of things, I would have just had a blast. I would have just been partying, and it would have been such a good time and meeting people and just loving everything. Meanwhile, I was loving everything, but there was a huge work aspect involved as well with us. But I see what you mean with anybody else who's going.
Mm-hmm. And so, what kinds of travelers or people do you get when they come to you? Like, what kind of questions do they have, like, with regards to what you do?
Yeah. So the whole idea of the business is to open up people's eyes to a different way of life. So, you travel to these countries, you see the way other people live, you have all these unique experiences, you meet other cool people along the way, and it really is just such an enriching experience to have. So we get a lot of people, because group travel is definitely a safer way of travel, known to be a safer way of travel. We get a lot of younger travelers joining us. Parents are obviously less concerned about them traveling with a group than traveling on their own, solo. We get a lot of people from Canada, the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and people that are just looking to open their mind. We definitely attract a certain type of traveler, and that's the open-minded, wanting to have a really good time and wanting to kind of make the most out of life.
Okay. Oh, what countries have you taken people on?
Thailand, Vietnam, Bali, Peru, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, yachting through Turkey and Greece, yachting through Croatia.
Is the 14 destinations like 14 different countries? Or do you have-
Yes. Well, in some countries we go to multiple places.
And so, like, on these trips, are they like, how long are these trips?
Anywhere from 1 week to 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. Cool. And, like, if, let's say, for me, I've never really done a group trip like that. Like, if I went, like, are there, like, different packages of, like, I can only go for 1 week and hit one country, or, like, or what do you guys offer?
Yeah, so we have intro experiences. Like if you want to go check out a couple countries and just kind of get an introduction and then go off and travel on your own. We have those types of experiences through Thailand and Vietnam and Bali. We have 1 week experiences where you just go to Nicaragua for a week. But you can also stack that with a week in Costa Rica and a week in Panama, and you can travel through the three of them over a period of 3 weeks. And yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of different lengths and traveling. Like
It varies.
In depth, you can have more of an in-depth country experience, or you can bounce around to multiple countries.
What's the easiest one that you like? If a newbie just comes, like, never been anywhere, never been outside their own country, what's the recommendation?
I think a lot of people start with Thailand.
Yeah.
A lot of people do start with Thailand. Not necessarily that it's the best or that you should or it's the go-to, but just a lot of people do. I know that it's great weather, and it's hot and humid and feels great. Beautiful beaches, nice water, beautiful crystal ocean, good snorkeling and scuba diving, amazing numbers of people from everywhere to meet and stuff. Like, that was one of the biggest takeaways from Thailand, is the number of people that are also travelers there doing the exact same thing as you.
Yeah.
It's there's nothing like it, really.
Well, yeah, you guys went back there like 3 times, right?
Yeah, at least 3 times.
I think Thailand is still one of the top spots, just because so many people have traveled there. And it's like anything else, word of mouth, right? The more people that go, the more people that find out about it. Everybody wants to go to Thailand. But Central America is becoming a really hot spot to travel to, especially for Canada and the US, because of the close proximity. It's just easy to get there. You don't have to take an 18-hour flight. You can get there, in 12 hours.
Plus,
there's usually a layover.
I'm sure price point has a big thing to do with it as well, versus like European countries, a lot of them.
Yeah, especially for young travelers, they're definitely budget conscious. So, while we do some European tours, we're definitely geared more towards the budget conscious traveler. And so Southeast Asia and Central America have a really good price point, really great value.
Right. So when you go on these trips, how structured are they? Or is there a definitive, like, you do this, every single day of this trip, or do you have like free days where you're like, I can do whatever I want?
Yeah, so there's a good mix of free time, and then there's scheduled activities. So every day there's something going on, whether it's an activity, where you travel, to see the elephant sanctuary, or you go and do a viewpoint hike together, or, the list goes on. But there's different types of, oh no.
What?
Lost my train of thought.
That's
Okay,
fine.
well,
Keep
when
going.
when we did the LBW trip in Croatia, we had free time mixed with activities such as we went to vineyards and did wine tastings and meals. We went to Ultra Music Festival for 2 different nights back to back, which was incredible. We actually yachted to different islands. I think ice cream was kind of a big one in like Coachella or something, one of the islands. Like there was just like little things to go and do that everyone kind of just did as a group. So you had, I know I don't want to speak too much on behalf of you guys, but like, yeah, we had a lot of free time, and we also had planned activities that you can go and do if you so choose to.
That's what I was meaning to say. Well, we have all these things scheduled. You don't have to participate in them.
Mm-hmm.
You have your own ability to make that decision, whether you want to participate in the group dinner or whether you want to go and do your own thing. So there is a lot of flexibility in the travel. You just need to make sure that you're on the bus to the next destination, or you're going to be stuck.
Oh, so you're all traveling by bus, like together?
Bus, train, plane,
Okay.
however, whatever method of transportation. You just need to make sure that you're on that to go to the next destination, or you're on your own.
Oh man,
SOL, I believe, is a good term for that.
I see. What was your experience? When you went doing this LBW stuff?
I am still friends with some of the people that I met on that trip 4 or 5 years ago. That was probably one of my first yacht experiences, which was really sick. We had looked at, yacht life and stuff before, and it seemed like this really amazing time that, I doubt I'll ever actually make it to something like that. And then when we linked up with LBW and that's what they were doing, it was like, okay, well, this is crazy. Croatia was the first time that we were there as well. Beautiful country. Couldn't believe that there was no sand anywhere. Beautiful beaches, no sand. It's all rocks.
Really?
So it would help you to have water shoes or a couple of pairs of flip-flops. And then, we did the island hopping, which was just really awesome. The people were quite friendly. The people that we were traveling with were awesome. Young, a lot of them were partiers and just looking to have the best time that they could. And it was a really... there's a good atmosphere to be around. It brought everybody else's energy up, But there was also the educational side of things too. I remember that day that we did the winery, we did a bunch of stuff just kind of throughout the towns and stuff that day. And there was a lot of information being thrown at us that I couldn't even retain all of it. Just trying to listen into okay, so here's the history behind this island, and this place that we're going to is all about this, this, and this. And you're like, okay, I had the first 10 minutes of this, and now I'm starting to forget stuff. And the names are a little different, and I don't speak the language very well. No problem in Croatian is nema problema, which I would say that to everybody. I loved it just because it rhymes mostly. That's pretty much it.
So these tours, you get somebody with a giant microphone yelling at you, this building on the left is
not so
or is
much.
that just relegated to the Asian Chinese community of tourists?
Well, I don't know. I think you get that in a lot of different places, but
I'm not a hater. I'm just anyway. Back to you.
But no, it's not like that type of kind of old person tour, That's what I would say.
Right.
Where you're being herded along with a guy with a big loudspeaker. It's more of an organic experience, and we really try to create authentic experiences as well. So you kind of, when you go on one of our trips, you're having an experience that you otherwise may not be able to find yourself. The interesting thing about group travel, as Parker mentioned, he's still in touch with a lot of these people. When you're traveling solo, I find that there's these fleeting moments where you meet somebody and you're like, oh man, this person is amazing. This is such a great time. We're having the best time ever. And then the next day they're like, oh, I'm flying back to Ireland tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man. So the cool thing about being in a group is you're with those people the whole time.
Right.
And you develop these relationships and you have these experiences. And when you come back, you have such strong connections that you make the effort to stay in touch. Another interesting thing is that when you're a lot of the people that travel with us often come from similar places. So, we'll get a bunch of people from Vancouver that sign up. We'll get a bunch of people from, Sydney, Australia that sign up. And when those people go back home, they're in close proximity of each other. Whereas anytime I've gone solo traveling, while I've always loved it and I've had a great time, it's difficult to stay in touch with people. You feel like you're going to have this lifelong connection, but the reality is you have this barrier, this distance barrier, or I'm not going to go to England to visit this guy that I spent 3 days with in Thailand, even though I think that we could have a really good friendship. You just can't put that effort into to pursue it.
I get it. Having 6 weeks with somebody is obviously more substantial than somebody with 3 days of your friendship.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Is it too late for someone like me? I'm 29 now.
Josh, it's never too late.
Never? Do you think you would go on another group trip, Parker?
I don't need to, and to be honest, depending on what where the trip was or what it was about, because like I think some trips are more educational, probably depending on where you're going, and other trips are more sort of a party fun vibe. I can't keep up with the people that go for partying. There's no way. I'm 30 now. I had my wild and crazy drinking sort of phase when I was in my up to mid-20s maybe.
Up until last year.
Up until last year.
Up until last week.
But by now, I mean, we even noticed it on that first Croatia trip. Like some of the people that were there, they wanted to go out every night and drink. And I was like, I can't do that. Like, I had several last night and I'm sort of feeling it today. I'm going to take it easy today. And then maybe tomorrow I'll have some more where some of these people are just kind of go. So in terms of and plus, I'm experienced traveler. I don't need to have everything sort of laid out for me. I can just go and pave my own path as I go. I mean, I did enjoy it, and the friendships made were great. And if something kind of fell into my lap, sure, I'd go with it 100%, and I'd have a good time with it. But I wouldn't probably choose to at this stage, knowing what I know and being as independent as I am now.
Man, I feel like I really want to go on a group trip of some kind, but I don't know like if I would gel with like 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds anymore.
You wouldn't not gel with them. You just got to keep up.
Yeah, the median age is around kind of 22 to 25.
And then the 30-year-olds are like in the back, just like trying to keep
No,
up.
I think you'd still have a really great time. I can give you a great deal as well.
Oh, yeah?
I know a guy.
What's the code? Can we share that with our viewers too?
Yeah, we probably could at the end.
Okay, so like say for example, I haven't traveled before. Maybe I'm a younger guy or whatever, and I come to you and I'm like, "Hey, I want to travel for the first time in a group. What can you do for me here?"
Where are you from? Just out of curiosity.
I'm a citizen of the goddamn world. Okay, like just give me an experience here.
Can you can you go over that question one more time? I'm not sure I followed.
No. Like if let's say for example, I walk into LBW offices and say, "Hey, I'm interested in what you're doing. Like, hey, what are my options here?"
Yeah. So, I would say first of all, how much time do you have? You have a week? You have 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Well,
What?
I have to check schedule.
Okay. And what time of year would you like to travel?
I don't like rain.
Okay, so I would.
So what I'm saying, I want to travel now, I guess.
You want to travel now, right now? Okay.
Yeah, like probably next week if I could.
Yeah, so I mean, there's really a lot of options. You could head down south, or you could head to Southeast Asia. I would probably recommend Southeast Asia if you had more than 2 weeks. But if you had less than 2 weeks, I would recommend you go down to Central America, just because, like I said before, the proximity, you don't have to spend as much time traveling to get there. And there's some really cool experiences you can have down there. It's still a little bit off the beaten path, so it's not completely overrun with tourists. In fact, it's much less touristy than Southeast Asia.
Yeah, that's
And the culture is amazing.
right.
The people are so friendly, and the food is so delicious, and the prices are everything's so affordable. So I would suggest Costa Rica. I would suggest Panama. Panama, a lot of people are like, ooh, Panama City, like big Americanized city. And I agree, that was my first thought about Panama. But I think that once you get down there and you get out of the city, there's so many cool spots. There's so many little islands, like amazing island paradises to check out. And it's a really cool spot to travel. So I think Panama is you're going to see Panama increasing in popularity in the next little while as more people discover the cool parts of Panama.
Can you name a place that's not going to increase in popularity in the near future? I feel like that's just the way the world is going now. Yeah. Everyone's traveling more. It's becoming more of a thing for people to do. 50 years ago, people weren't traveling like they were now.
Totally.
And like, you can say that too about just about anywhere. Like, go to Vancouver. Oh, Vancouver, yeah, I've been there. It's fairly small city compared to some of the big cities. It's like, yeah, but you get off the beaten path around Vancouver, there's a lot to do. And there's some really beautiful stuff to see. Like, it's an amazing place. British Columbia is so beautiful and so
one of the
rich.
most beautiful places in the world.
And yet, you think Vancouver, you don't really think that, right off the bat. You know what I mean? So you go anywhere, like I was saying about Bali. You know, you can be in the middle of everything, or you can go travel around for an hour, 2 hours in one direction, and you get in the middle of nowhere. So.
Yeah, I think the issue is that those middle of nowhere places are also becoming popular with social media. You know, it's like all it takes is one person to go to this like little lagoon that nobody knew about, take a photo,
one Instagram post,
one Instagram post, and millions of people have seen it. And next thing you know, you go there. There's everyone's there. Everyone's trying to swim in the same lagoon,
trying to catch Blastoises,
which is kind of unfortunate, but it's the world we live in now. You know, it is what it is.
So how do you balance between like when you're designing these trips for people, or when you take these young travelers on? Like, do you balance between like, let's take you to a very touristy place and then to a not touristy place, or is it what do you go through?
Yeah, there's a fine balance, because there's certain places where people know and people want to go. You know, when they go to Thailand, they want to go to the full moon party. Like, that's just, it's part of your Thailand experience. And so, well, we try not to completely focus around party. We want to have a really well-rounded experience where there's that like ethical elephant experience. There's there's adventure, there's hiking, there's some self-development and growth workshops embedded into there, because people, if you looked, 10 years ago, people were looking for a party experience.
Yeah.
The idea of what traveling has shifted. People are looking for more culinary experiences and authentic cultural experiences, and more like off the beaten path types of experiences, and less just party. That being said, people still want to have fun.
For sure. Well-rounded traveler, right?
Well-rounded traveler. So it's like, a good mix of party, because I know people that have traveled before and all they did was partied, and they came back and they like didn't even see anything that the country had to offer. Like, oh, did you go to the temple? No.
What's a temple?
I slept through that. Oh, did you go to the waterfall? Oh no, I was pretty hungover that day. I didn't want to go on the hike. Like, you didn't go to the waterfall? That was the best part.
Well, you guys went during happy hour. How am I supposed to show up to that?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have, in your personal experience, do many people focus on learning the language when they go somewhere else, when they go somewhere new? I mean, a lot of for the most part, English is the universal language. You don't need to really speak much else.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part about English. I mean, even when you want to learn the language, the
Locals.
the natives, the locals of the country, they want to practice their English. Mm-hmm. So you say, like, when you're down south and you say hola, they say hello.
Yeah.
And then they want to practice their English. So unless you can say in that language that you're practicing, your Spanish, and you want to continue practicing, and then have a Spanish dialogue, they'll just automatically revert to English. So you can go to a country and like you said, English is a universal language. You can go to a country and spend 3 months there, and everybody will just speak English to you. Or you can make a strong effort to learn the language and let them know that you're trying to learn, and they'll really respect that. And that's how you're going to have the most growth.
Yeah.
I did have a question for you. You're talking about like this self-development, ethical kind of, portion of your traveling. Like, what does that entail? Because it sounds new to me that group travel would, experiences would offer you that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, anywhere from these animal experiences, like elephant riding used to be a big thing in Thailand.
Yeah, I don't want to take the answer from you, but I was going to say I think anything involving animals is probably a huge one, especially in 2018.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, animals, but like also reducing your environmental footprint, respecting the cultures, the list goes on. Trying to leave the place better off than you found it, beach cleanups, things like that.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely different avenues, and then you can go into like the carbon footprint.
Yeah,
reducing your carbon footprint from your flight and having like carbon credits, stuff like that, and making donations to certain organizations that you support while you're on the tour. The list goes on. So, but I think like the most prominent shift that you're seeing in these travel businesses as of recent is environmental and animals, because like I said, elephant rides used 3-4 years ago, elephant rides were like the most popular thing in Thailand, and they are just so mistreated. And you know, they break them down until they basically lose their spirit, and then turn them into these elephant riding slaves, basically. Yeah, and it's super unfortunate. So just being aware of that and making a conscious decision to travel with a business that takes that into consideration. Because you don't want to be contributing to that problem.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of businesses are adjusting. I guess I apologize for I keep hitting my microphone. A lot of businesses are adjusting for, you know, how people are starting to view things. You know, like back when, you know, 5 years ago, elephant rides were fun and cool and exciting and like, oh wow, what a cool cultural experience. And then people started to really complain about, you know, this is cruel. Like, what are they really doing to these elephants to train them up for carrying people around on their backs all day, blah, blah, blah. And then we realize that companies start veering away from that as well. So, I mean, it's constantly changing as well. So, I mean, a company that, you know, used to promote elephant rides back in the day very likely won't do that anymore either, right?
Well, yeah, even in our most recent trip to Bali, they were, what do you say? They were a sanctuary now.
It was a sanctuary, but they did allow it.
They did allow
They
it?
allowed elephant rides. I asked them specifically about it. So
Questionable sanctuary.
we should have an entire podcast on this.
Next week.
Sanctuary.
We're going to do this next week.
But for the record, we didn't do any elephant rides.
Yeah.
We didn't care to. But what I asked her about it was why is it okay? How is this ethical? A lot of people are getting away from this. And she said, well, you know, can you wear a backpack? I said, yeah. She goes, is your back built? You know, were you born with a back that was supposed to carry a backpack? No. But can you carry it with a lot of weight on it?
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I can. Okay, similar to elephants. It's still padded. It's, you know, so I mean, it's not that I'm agreeing with her. I'm just saying, okay, it's an angle that I hadn't looked at before. So I see, you know, where she's coming from. And, you know, in terms of the elephant being chained up by the leg, if they were to roam free around the sanctuary and park, they would just destroy all the bushes and foliages and leaves and trees and this and that because they eat and they whatever and they would just destroy stuff. So they have to kind of keep them in separate areas. So I'm not saying I'm pro whatever. I'm just saying that, you know, there are a lot of different perspectives to see it in, and you really have to do your research.
Yeah. You do, and that's, to me, just sounds like it's not a sanctuary.
Oh,
like
dear.
you need to do your research, and there are ones where they roam freely, and you learn to feed them, and nobody rides them, even though that they were once ridden. Doesn't mean that they will continue offering rides. You know, so that's like a true sanctuary when they're fully on board with the well-being of the elephant.
Just real quick here, Eric, is riding a horse unethical? Is it?
Is riding a camel unethical?
I think that the difference between riding a horse and riding an elephant and riding a camel, I mean, I don't know if camels are super wild, but like, and maybe I'm wrong with the horses too, but elephants are literally like beaten until they're like beaten to a pulp until they literally lose their spirit.
I've seen those videos.
I've
seen those videos.
To allow people to get onto their backs, whereas like a horse, like you just jump on a horse and take her away, right?
See, that's not a good answer.
You think the horse likes that when a friggin' 180-pound man just jumps on and says,
No,
"Wee-ah!"
I don't think it. No, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I think that you would be hard pressed to convince the world not to ride horses.
Yeah,
right, but I don't know. It's probably eventually going to happen.
Okay,
at some point.
Possibly.
We could get back. We're
that would be interesting.
We're veering off.
This is a new podcast.
We're actually
gonna
talk about it next week for sure. We're gonna have a debate about elephants for sure. You're gonna come back for that.
I'd love to. Let's talk about elephants all
research.
day.
Yeah, we're gonna have 5 minutes each for rebuttal and all that stuff. Group travel. Back to what we were talking about here.
Let's talk about the importance of travel.
Is it that important?
Yes.
But yeah, I'm just joking. We have time.
Whoa.
No. I definitely want to talk about
I think
that.
Group, regardless whether you choose group travel, solo travel, it's the important part is travel. And there's so many amazing benefits to travel from the personal development side, where you get to spend a lot of time having introspective looks at what's going on in your life, and you put yourself out of your comfort zone. Often when you're out of your comfort zone, you experience a huge amount of growth. You know, from that kind of like personal development and growth aspect to an appreciation aspect, an appreciation of what you have at home. You know, when you travel around Thailand and you bathe with a bucket of water for a few weeks, which you don't do on our tours, by the way. But I lived with a family in Thailand for a while, and it was like a very, you know, like we didn't have electricity most of the time. We bathed in this outdoor tin hut with one bucket of water. That's all you could use because there was a limited supply of water. And that was my first travel experience. And when I came back to Vancouver, I was like, holy smokes, hot water, like shower.
Yeah.
I was like, it was like a whole new appreciation for what you have here,
I have
right?
a fridge full of food. This is amazing.
Exactly. And so without having that experience where you kind of, you go without these things, it's very hard to have that appreciation for the things that we have. Another thing that we appreciate when we're traveling is our different cultures.
For sure.
And so you start to understand why different cultures are the way they are. And when you see somebody in your, you know, your hometown of that culture, you have a whole new appreciation for what they are. And it, you know, it starts to really remove things like racism and prejudice. And I think that's so important. I remember the first time that I came back from traveling from Thailand, I came back and I had this like whole new perspective on life, and there were people in my life that they weren't great people. And so it made me take a really hard look at the people that I was spending my time with and the way that they treated other cultures and races and things like that. And I completely removed these people from my life. And I think that without traveling, I may not have had that same realization, or it may have not been as impactful. So, you know, and then of course, like there's the fun aspect. Traveling is so much fun. You feel like you're alive every time. You know, I feel like I'm alive right now too. But
yeah, you wake up.
It's
you
like
wake up
you
first
wake
thing
up
in the morning,
you pop out of bed,
and you're not tired because the whole world is new outside. You're
Exactly.
Like, I don't know anything that's going on outside.
Exactly.
Like, I want to get into it. It's so rejuvenating just to wake up being in a new place like
yeah,
that.
you just want to pop out of bed and want to go meet interesting people and have great conversations.
Your
And
first meal of the day is going to be awesome because you don't know what it's going to be necessarily. Like,
totally.
like there's a menu at the restaurant or the little shop down the road or whatever. Like, you're choosing what you want, but who knows what it's going to be until you get there, you know?
Exactly.
What kind of smoothies they have, or what kind of like yogurt drinks and stuff. That's crazy. It's good.
Your what you said about, you know, removing racism and all that reminds me of that quote by Mark Twain. I just brought it up here. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, I mean, you really develop an open mind when you're traveling, and it's inspirational. You know, you can. There's so much creativity that comes to you, and inspiration, and I mean, I truly believe that travel is the most important thing that that anyone can do. But if you can start at a young age, that's amazing, because it's going to shape who you are. And you know, you're going to grow up to be a really understanding, really empathetic, really compassionate person.
when was like the first kind of experience that you had, like for an example you're saying, like, you know, these walls are kind of broken down. You know, what was your first memory of that kind of thing happened to you?
Yeah, so for me, it was my sister, who has always been a traveler. She encouraged me to apply for this program called Canada World Youth. And it's a program that's funded by the Canadian government, but you also have to do some funding yourself. And you go overseas and you get paired up with a person from the country that you're going to visit. You live with that person. So you live with this person for 6 months, but you do 3 months in your own country with a family that you don't know. And then you do 3 months in the host country that you're traveling to, which was Thailand.
Was it Thailand for you?
Which was
Yeah,
Thailand
okay.
for me. So my sister told me to apply, and I was like, sure, I'll apply. Like, I don't really know what's going on in my life right now. So I applied. Next thing you know, I've been accepted. They were like, oh, you're going to Uruguay. And I was like, Uruguay? What's that?
Yeah.
But I had all these friends that just came back from Thailand, and she's like, oh, you don't sound super stoked about Uruguay. I was like, oh, no, like, I heard Thailand's really nice. She's like, you're going to Thailand.
Nice.
And it just worked out. So So I lived with a family in Canada, and you have like a educational, like a volunteer placement. So in Canada, we were teaching a grade 12 world issues class. And that was our volunteer time. And then we went to Thailand, and you live with a family. So we lived in this really remote village near the border of Cambodia and Thailand, in a province called Buriram. And this was a tiny little village, you know. When I was there was a 100-year-old grandpa that lived at our house, and one morning he took his last breath. And next thing you know, it's like there's people rolling in with these like giant speakers, and you know, this is the first time I traveled, so I'm just like, what is going on right now? And there's like, they set up these speakers that were 2 stories high and played music for a week, like that whiny that.
Oh, I know the one.
And it was just like, it was such a mind-boggling experience from that, and then going to like the cremation of him. And I remember like being in this crowd of village people, and I'm like 3 feet high.
I was gonna say, were you still like?
Oh, there's a hilarious photo
at the time.
Yeah, I was like getting there.
Okay.
And there's this hilarious photo where I'm like towering above everyone. But there was this like the cremation, like they had a full on. They had like sticks with the body on top, and they burned it. It was just like such a eye-opening experience, you know. And living with this family who took me in and treated me as if I was part of their family, and fed me amazing food and showed me all these cool things. And we also got a chance to learn about different issues in the country. So we learned about like HIV prevention, and we learned about different agriculture and all sorts of amazing things. So to me, it was the most impactful experience I've ever had in my life, still to this very day. Mm-hmm. It really shaped who I was, and I just think that having those types of experiences, whether it's something you get from a group travel experience, a solo travel experience, or some kind of like volunteer experience like that, I just highly encourage everyone to start exploring that as soon as they can. But finish your education first. Your high school education.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the thought crossed my mind too.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you, like that experience that you just told, that you shared with us, like that sounds like a very off the beaten path kind of experience. Do you think those experiences can be translated to, you know, group travel, you know, experiences?
Yeah, I think that's definitely different, but I think that you can still have the same amount of growth through a group travel experience, but in a different way. But like I said, we really try to facilitate these types of unique experiences where people are having these mind-opening experiences. They're not just going to the full moon party, you know.
Right.
They're sitting around and they're talking. We're facilitating conversations where people are talking about, you know, what they want to, how they want to get the most out of life, and you know, what inspires them in life, and what they think their purpose is. And we kind of like try to facilitate these conversations, so when these people go home, when these travelers go home, they're thinking about all of these things, you know. They're kind of like rehashing these things in their mind. The really cool thing about travel is when you are traveling, like you said, everything's so exciting, right? You're just like, everything is so new and exciting, and you become a sponge. You just start like absorbing everything. You absorb like the sights, the sounds, the smells. And then if there's somebody facilitating more of that kind of like personal growth and development, because you're in this headspace,
amplifies it.
Exactly. It really sticks with you. So the whole point of that is to have our travelers come back, and then also talk to other people about these experiences and teach them the things that they learned on their trip, and hopefully encourage them to travel and have these unique experiences and conversations.
Eric, just out of curiosity, how many countries have you been to, roughly?
It's funny that you asked that, because somebody asked me that the other day, and I have no idea. But it's not...
Come on, an estimation.
30-something?
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, but here's the thing. That's such an interesting question to me, because I think that there's a lot of people that go to a lot of countries, but they don't actually travel through them.
Oh,
you know, they go, they're
very
like, oh, I
true.
like went to London. I was in London for 2 nights, and like,
Right.
Yeah.
like check that one off the list, you know?
Right.
And that's not the type of travel that I like to do personally. I like to immerse myself in a place. Like I like to, I like to go to Colombia and be there for 2 months or 3 months, or
Get the
I like to
feel.
go to Nicaragua and be there for a few months, Even when we traveled through, like, I feel like we traveled through Nicaragua pretty well.
We covered a lot of ground.
We
did
covered a lot of
stuff,
ground.
Yeah.
And there's like, even that was a really fun travel experience. There was a lot of adventure packed into there as well, obviously. Being with you guys, there's never
A dull moment.
A dull moment, exactly. That was such a fun trip. But you remember when we went to the baseball
I
game?
was thinking the baseball thing. Of course, I remember that.
So that was, again, like we're in a group travel. We were kind of like partying. We were in this box, the sky box.
Somebody knew somebody important because we were in the box, and I don't know how we got there.
So this was pretty funny. We were quick story time.
Yeah.
Just a real quick one.
I probably remember some of this footage because I edited it.
So we were in this. We got invited to the skybox.
Yeah.
But we got invited to this like rum company skybox, and they were like, "Oh, it's gonna be like all inclusive rum. You guys are gonna have like the best time ever." And we get there, and like when you go to the skybox in Vancouver, you're going to the skybox. Like you're like, it's luxury, catered, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you go there. It was like this tile floored, like tile walled
It still
room.
felt
It still
VIP,
it
like-
still felt VIP, especially like with everything else that was going on. But it was by no means like a luxury experience. But we had unlimited amounts of rum, and we were ordering food from the windows. The guys that were selling food in the audience were
Yeah.
like throwing food up, and we were catching it, eating it. We had such a great time. But where I'm going with this is at the very end of the baseball game, we had a decision. It was like, you guys can either leave now and before the game's over, because it's not a good idea for you to be in this crowd right when it ends, or you can go after the game, like after everybody clears out. And we were like, well, we want to watch the end of the game. Like, obviously we're going to stick around. So we stuck around, and everybody cleared out. And all of a sudden, like, people came in from elsewhere and started like picking up food and like drinking the drinks. And at first, like, somebody was like, oh my God, like, look at that guy. He's like drinking a beer.
He must be a drunk.
He
or
must be a
something.
drunk or something like that. But then all of a sudden there's like children and everybody's eating the food scraps, and we're like, oh no, that's not what's going on. Like, these people are poor, because Nicaragua is one of the most impoverished countries in Central America, second most to Haiti. And these people are literally trying to survive. They're eating the food scraps of people that have been at the game. And it was like a real, like, we all looked at each other and we were like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God, like, this is insane. And it was such an eye-opening experience. And but what a cool experience it was, because we got to go down and we
Onto
played
the
with the
pitch
kids on the
after,
field.
yeah.
I was just looking at videos of my phone of you running around the bases with the kid on your shoulders.
Oh,
and like,
nice.
and we got to play with the kids, and it was just, we had such a great time. But it's one of those, it can go from you're having this kind of like party experience to, holy smokes,
This is real.
this is real.
Very real.
And then you get to, go down and play with the kids and just have that like experience that you couldn't
Like a
have
sobering moment.
anywhere else. A real sobering moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the taser as well. Remember that?
Mm.
Getting tasered.
That's
Remember
like
the guy had a
Thailand, right?
security guard. The guy that we were with had a security guard that had a taser, and we decided at the restaurant that would be a great idea to start tasering each other.
It's a stun gun, actually, and we have a lot of experience stun gunning each other in different countries. I don't really remember it in Nicaragua,
Okay.
but it's just
There's
another,
a video of
it's
you
on the-
getting
it's
a stun gun taser. Is a taser the one that shoots into you?
Taser shoots and stun gun is handheld.
Right.
Confusing, but
Okay.
Gotcha. I'll never forget that.
probably not. It's the opposite of what it sounds like. What, did I volunteer for it?
Oh yeah.
No surprise.
So what is your next area of travel?
Oh man, I'd really love to go to India,
Yeah.
and but I want to do it when I have the time to fully disconnect, because checking my email and stuff, that's just not gonna
Yeah.
fly. Like, I want to have a fully disconnected spiritual quest.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that India is a great place to do that.
Agreed.
Yeah, you went to India. Like, what was that like?
India is one of my first
Yeah,
travel
wasn't it
destinations.
your first one?
One of your
not,
first.
Not
that's-
necessarily my first. Like
The
in
high-
high
for
school,
high
I
on
went to a
life,
few
at least.
for High on Life. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was the first. We had a host and family, luckily, to go with, to show us around and to kind of look after us and to speak the language anytime and every time we didn't know how to do stuff. So that was very helpful. Arjun, he's here right now, actually. He's staring at me. I'm not going to look at him.
What's up, baby?
His camera is staring at you.
Yeah, probably.
And he's staring at his camera.
Yeah, no, he's got family up there. And so we were heading to Australia originally. And he's like, well, I got a family wedding in India. Why don't you guys come out there? You know, we'll host. You guys can stay at our place. I'm like, okay, let's do it. That sounds like a great way to start our trip. And so we did that. And then on the last, I don't know, let's say 8 days or something, we were without him and his family. And so it was me, Alexi Riker. It was Alexi Riker and me going up to Dharamshala, up into the Himalayas.
Amazing.
And it was incredible. And so there's two sides of this. Is the one side, it sucked that we didn't have Arjun or his family or anyone to translate for us or to tell us how to get around or how to do things or what this taxi driver means when he's dropping us off and telling us we got to go way over there to get to our little bed and breakfast. And we're like, why can't you just drive us? Turns out like it's a hell of a hike. Like it's like a quarter of the gross grind to get to our B&B, and the taxis won't take you there. They're like, no, walk up like everybody else. But we didn't understand it. We're like, no, man, like here's some more money. Just take us to the thing.
Yeah,
I don't understand. But then on the other hand, being, you know, vulnerable and forced to make decisions and to act and to, you know, be our own guides really opened up the whole world to us. We're like, okay, so this is how things need to get done here, and this is what I need to do if I want, you know, to get from point A to point B, or if I want this to happen to me today, or if I want to arrive at this place, I need to figure out how to do this. And so you learn about yourself. You learn to problem solve. You know, start learning languages. You start, you know, everything all comes together, and you really, really get this major growth spurt, like spiritually, physically, mentally. So I don't know. It's a blessing and a challenge, but you know,
Huge learning experience.
The more you break out of your comfort zone, the bigger your comfort zone becomes, right?
Damn,
Got it. Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom.
crazy. Did you just pull that out of your hat, or
No,
He's not wearing a hat.
or whatever?
I thought about it earlier. Actually, Eric said something that triggered a quote that I knew earlier. It was, the world is like a book, and staying in your hometown is like only reading one page of the book.
Oh my God.
Not even a chapter.
Not even a chapter.
Not even a
a chapter. No way.
Just a page.
And so I thought of that quote earlier, and then that also kind of lined up with the more you break out of your comfort zone. I say that one a lot, though, actually. I've used that 100 times in the last year, probably.
Wow,
Man.
that's a lot of times.
I love that one.
Man, I think we're going to have to end the podcast with that bomb-ass quote that you just dropped on us, man.
Are we not
Just
here to
too
talk
good.
about the...
Whoa, wait.
Well,
We have a few more questions. Just one more question for Eric.
wait, a few more or one more?
Just one more. Sorry, one more, because we're going to wrap for time here. Eric, you know, being someone in the industry, you know, and someone who's traveled a lot, you said you've been to 30 countries. You know, what do you think the future of traveling is going to be?
You want to talk about the future of travel? Let me tell you.
You look like Jordy.
Probably going to take autonomous planes everywhere. They're just going to fly us around. Seriously, you probably get one to your house.
Or
Or just get picked up.
or
You know what? Probably a
Are-
teleporter. Why would you even take a plane when there's a teleporter?
beam me up,
I think
Scotty.
it'll go human transporting drones, and then maybe instant teleportation.
Yeah.
But the,
Instant
the
teleportation would
drones
be-
are there. We're there now with drones. We can carry people from point A to point B.
I've
Yeah.
seen those. Those are incredibly scary.
Let's get one. Let's do
A
it.
drone pull away.
I mean, someone needs to invent the teleporter.
Yeah.
Could
Beam
it
me
be
up,
you?
Scotty. Beam me to Bali.
If you could teleport anywhere right now, where would you go? And why?
Why? Or where?
Ooh, we only have time for where. We can't
Oh,
fit in
yeah, we
why.
can't do where. I don't want to do the why. I think where.
Tell me about where you would
Okay,
go.
where I would probably go back to my hometown of Brunei.
That's not a town.
Or, sorry, my home country of Brunei. That's where I was born.
That sounds like a great place to go.
What about you? Where would you teleport to, Mr. Advanced?
Great question.
Okay, Parker, what about you? Where would you go?
You know, if you gave me an hour to think about it, I would come up with a different answer than what I'm about to give you. But if I could teleport anywhere right now, I would love to be in Santorini, Greece.
Ooh.
I think that's a great option.
It is a great option.
You gonna take that one?
And you can't take that one.
No. I gotta
Okay,
go
I'll
somewhere
take
else.
that.
Can I leave the planet?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Where would you go?
Only if you put those. If you put the. If you put that on.
Zargon 7? Going to Zargon
Only
7
if I
again?
wear my
Yeah,
glasses.
for your future. Yeah. Oh, the man of the futures. Yeah. Oh. Anyway,
Wait.
Oh.
I need an answer. Eric, where would you go?
I'd probably go to. I mean, Mars would be inhospitable. I'd probably die upon
You die
arrival. Is there
anywhere.
any way-
So you wouldn't choose it, so where would you go?
Okay, I'd probably just go to. I mean, I'd just go to India.
Okay,
Huh.
there it is. All right, sweet.
Go to India. I'd like get teleported into an Indian temple.
Wow.
Nice.
Just start the
I'd be
spiritual
like,
process.
I'd be like,
right
why?
away.
I'd be like, why did I wear this? This doesn't make
Yeah,
sense
right.
for here right now.
Anyway,
And what's Shivratri? I'm not ready for this.
well, ladies and gentlemen, we are just going to wrap up this podcast. My name is Josh. Your name is Parker, and your name is Eric.
That's
and
true.
we're just going to wrap up. And anything else to say to the world?
Call to action? Anything we want
Call to action.
for next time?
Follow us.
maybe-
Follow us on all of our platforms. Leave us a comment or two.
I would have said some topics that you guys would find fascinating and interesting for us
Yeah.
to talk about, having the experience that we have, perhaps. For example, all this animal cruelty, ethical,
Listen.
humane stuff. That is a huge topic for a podcast.
Totally.
Like,
I know.
let's throw some other ideas out there.
We are going to be covering that next week with a bunch of other controversial topics.
Okay, so
Just-
don't go into animal stuff, but some other options of topics that we could talk about. We'd
Yeah.
love to hear it.
for sure.
Can I do a quick plug?
Plug it.
Of course, plug it, buddy.
Okay, so we've got two really cool things coming up. We've got our Yacht Life trips available in Croatia and Greece.
This is for
So you
LBW.
can check that. So if you go to lbwtravel.com, you can check those out. As well as we're doing an event in Panama where we rent a private island and we do all sorts of personal growth and experiences. We have DJs, we have great food, and essentially you're on a private island with a bunch of other awesome people having an amazing experience. So you can check that out at islandlifeexperience.com.
Sweet. Are
Awesome.
30-year-olds allowed?
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. I'll ask you for the code later.
Perfect.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night.
Thank you.